Welcome to the Chew on This podcast. Join your host, Dr. Katie Chew, and her guests as they chew on what matters, one story at a time.
Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Chew on This podcast. And I'm your host, Dr. Katie Chew. And today I have a beautiful guest, Vanessa Ochoa.
Hello,
How are you? Good. You had a busy day?
Very busy. Yes.
And why don't you go ahead and tell my followers a little bit about who you are?
Right. So I am a dean at UCLA College, and there I'm in student services, and I support all of the equity programs. So I work with undocumented community, formerly incarcerated students, our queer students. So with different types of students that have different needs. And so my work is very impactful, I feel, because I connect and create a lot of support for communities that don't get the most resources.
And how many years have you been doing
I've
this?
been at ELAC this is my 12th year that I'm starting in July.
Wow.
And
Time goes by fast.
Yes, it does. And I'm also a professor at Mountain St. Mary's, and I am in the sociology department. So I teach various courses on ethnic studies, sociology courses, so all interrelated.
And I think you also went to UCLA.
I did. I got my PhD at UCLA under the wonderful direction of Dr. Daniel Solórzano, who is one of my biggest mentors and very well known as a critical race scholar in education.
Yeah, and then you went on to Stanford.
Well,
Did you go?
Stanford was my master's.
Oh,
Yes.
Stanford was
So
your
undergrad
master's.
was at Cal, and then the master's was at Stanford, and then I ended my formal educational journey at UCLA
Oh,
because we're always learning.
and you know I went there
Yes.
for my undergrad,
Yes.
so very good. So I just want to touch upon also how we met. I think it was through my father's restaurant.
Yes,
Right.
so I used to live in downtown LA, and there's this wonderful restaurant that we would frequent with my husband and son. And so your father was the owner.
And do you remember the name of the restaurant?
Chew's Kitchen.
Yes.
Yes,
And
then-
somehow I've taken on the Chew branding now.
which I love because the legacy continues, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I appreciate that.
My father, I don't even know if you knew this, but my father opened up that restaurant back in 1974.
I wasn't born yet.
And so, and that was our source of, place where our family would get together. We would even do Christmas sometimes at the restaurant because it was large enough to hold all the different family members. So I grew up knowing that place as being not just a workplace for my parents, but it was also a sense of, community for my own family. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older, and I used to work there as a child as well. I know it might have gone against the child labor laws, but back in the day, it's like we were just so cute, going out and bringing water to the people who were, sitting at the table. But as I got older, I realized that he gave away all the food that was left over, that was still great food, but just wouldn't hold for the next
Yes.
day. And he had been donating it to the homeless in LA. And there would be one or two gentlemen that would come by riding their bicycles and just grab as much of the food in to-go bags, and they would bring it back to the homeless out in LA.
And it was appreciated.
Yeah.
I'm very sure of it.
And so this gentleman, he, thanked me for having this and having a father that was so generous. And the thing is that he did a video of back at Skid Row. He did a video and he mentioned my father.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah, and he had sent that to me. This is like maybe 10 years ago, so I don't even know where the video is anymore. I'm sure I can look it up. But he was doing a rap song.
About Chew's Kitchen and your
About his life
how
on Skid Row.
beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at the impact, right?
Oh, I know. And I think one of the famous dishes was always his garlic chicken wings. And there was always this special crunch to it with, the fried garlic on top of the skin. It was just wonderful.
You're making us hungry.
Oh, I know. And, when he was still cooking in the kitchen all the way up until he was like 76 years old. And so, I don't know if people know this, but when you're frying rice or chow mein in a large wok to serve maybe multiple people or parties, it takes a lot of strength in the forearms. And so at 75, he had
Very
great.
strong.
Yeah, he was very strong. All right. So I think you know about my format. We have the soft chews, and that's for you.
Thank you.
And I have the hard chews. And these bags are very worn out because I've been doing, I think this might be our 30, well, it's been over 30 episodes. So,
Beautiful.
well, let's go ahead and have you read this soft
Yes.
shoe.
So the soft shoe is what's something you're looking forward to right now, big or small?
What am I looking forward to?
Big or
Big or
small?
small? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay, let's have you answer
Um,
first.
I will say that I'm looking forward to next week. I will be taking a week off from my job, my day job, to spend time with my family in Palm Springs. So I'm really looking forward to reconnecting, rejuvenating, and having time, uninterrupted time, which is so critical because of the work that I do, to spend with my husband and my son.
Very nice.
So that's
And,
important to
and
me.
is your mother going to be joining you?
No, it's just the 3 of us.
Okay.
So for me too, I'm very big on family, but it's also important for me to nurture my like nuclear family.
Yes,
And I
it is
know
important.
oftentimes I dialogue with my husband about that's a very American concept because how we were raised, family is an extension. But I do feel it is important for us to have those connection moments because our life, by choice, the way we live and we support the community and different things we do, we're on the go a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think honestly, even from my own experience, the dynamic changes as soon as you add one more person to the outing or the group. It's just different,
Different
right? And
dynamics.
so it is nice sometimes to just be part of our nuclear
Hmm.
family. I know you've met both my daughters, Bailey
Yes.
and Cody, and I think Cody is the one that actually you had helped her at one point. And but both of my daughters, when I spend time with them, a lot of times they might bring up, "Hey, why don't we ask so and so or aunt
Right.
or auntie so and so to join us," and I'll be like, "No, let's just keep it the 3
The
of us."
3 of you.
Yeah,
The
because
experience.
it is nice, it is nice. All right, I was kinda buying time as to how to answer that
Oh,
question.
okay.
Um, okay, so for me, what am I looking forward to right now? Well, it's both big and small. I'm gonna say that because this is a it's a project, it's a passion project that I am working on right now. And I am going to put my life story
Mhm,
out there in a memoir. And I know that you are aware of me writing
mhm,
children's books, and the children's books are an extension of me in each of those characters. They're little dinosaurs. But this time I'm thinking, well, my audience this time will be
mhm,
adults. And the reason why I said it's big and small is because I have always felt that my story was small, that I wasn't worthy of the things that I've gone through for me to share it. I just
mhm,
didn't think that anyone would care. And but now it's something big because I have realized that the more I share about my own journey, other people are connecting with it because they're experiencing or have experienced something very similar.
mhm,
Not completely, identical, but somewhere we would find something where we would relate on. And I've developed beautiful friendships
mm.
from those experiences. So that is something where I am looking forward to.
Oh, exciting.
And I was hoping to have it out by my birth month, which is August. And I think right now I might get pushed back towards later on in the year. So,
As
but
long as
it's,
it gets done.
oh, I know, I know. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull a
Mhm,
hard shoe. And I don't know if I told you this, but the hard shoes are more on life, and it
mhm.
takes us a little bit longer to answer sometimes. Okay, what's a lesson that keeps repeating in your life?
A lesson that keeps repeating in my life, and I think of my mother,
Okay.
who is 83, is that we have to ensure that we're always hustling. And what do I mean by that? That we're always active. My mom is 83. My parents were small business owners of a bridal business, historic in Boyle Heights, for 50 plus years. And my mom's 83, and still she's finding ways to be active. And I take after her.
Hmm.
So that's my thing. Like, I'm a hustler and I'm moving and I'm doing.
Yeah.
And hustler in a great way, right? So I'm using it in a very positive
Yeah.
connotation. So retaking a term that could be sometimes seen as negative and redefining it for what my parents had to do to ensure that their 3 children were doing well.
Yeah. I mean, when you said hustle, I was thinking I hustle too,
Mm,
right? And this type of hustling is more like we have things that are burning up inside of us,
Mhm.
and we want to like pass it on, right? And sometimes it's that fuel from all these things that we want to do makes us hustle more,
Mhm.
right? And I think the main thing, I think what your mom has taught you is legacy.
Mhm. All the time. I
Yeah,
say that word to my son all the time.
yeah.
This is the legacy that I'm leaving you with.
Hmm.
And for me, Boyle Heights is really important.
Hmm.
And so I continuously tell him everything I'm showing you and the stories I'm telling you, it's about legacy of our family, but also of the neighborhood,
Oh, yeah.
right? To ensure that you understand the power that you hold in uplifting your neighborhood.
Can I say something?
Mm.
So you used to live in downtown LA,
Yes.
and for whatever
Hmm.
circumstances, you ended up deciding to
Right.
leave, and then you ended up going back to
To my
Boyle
home.
Heights.
Hmm.
I know. And I see it so clearly that it was meant to be,
It,
right?
it is, yes, very clear.
Yeah.
It was we were in downtown for a long time. I wanted to live the New York life, and COVID hits. And so at that moment, it was a conversation with myself and my husband, and we said, it's time to go home.
Yeah.
And so I'm very blessed that my family purchased home in Boyle Heights, and I'm raising my son in the home that I was raised in.
Oh, isn't that
So when
beautiful?
you talk about legacy,
Mhm.
every day is a legacy because the neighbors I'm still blessed are alive, and those neighbors were there before I was born.
Mhm.
So my son is engaging with the neighbors that knew me as a little girl,
Yeah.
and that's a gift that I could not give him in downtown LA.
What is that called when you talk about certain cultures
Hmm.
where their history sometimes cannot be written,
Right.
and it's through
Or
stories, oral, right?
oral.
And so in some ways, this is oral
Yeah.
for your son,
Hmm.
right? Because he's hearing the stories from the neighbors
Yes.
that remember you.
And he hears stories from the neighbors about my mom because again, my I'm very blessed that around the corner from our
Mhm.
home in Boyle Heights was their bridal business. So
Oh.
everybody knew my father and everyone knows my mother.
Mm.
So he's always hearing stories.
And what is it now? Is it still
It's
those were
now rental property that
okay.
my parents rented after my father passed away. My mom
Mhm.
said, I think I'm done with that part of my process. And so it's rental property.
Mm.
But she's still there because she enjoys business and she enjoys people.
Yeah.
And so my son gets to hear these stories. And it's also a visual legacy because he sees a lot of things in the
Mhm.
neighborhood,
Mhm.
a lot of life lessons.
Yeah, and I think you've also taught your son, or it's actually probably happening for you as well, to connect all those dots that you might have
Mhm.
not seen before and to connect them for him too. And
Yes.
then he can still, you know,
And I love that you're bringing that up because I love my neighborhood. I love my home. But when we were first leaving downtown in COVID, yes, there was a reason why we were leaving downtown COVID. And at first, it was very difficult to be back in the neighborhood that we left at the time because my parents wanted to ensure that we didn't experience the violence that was going on. There was a lot of in the 90s, there was a lot of gang violence. And
you're talking
so
about in downtown
in Boyle
or in
Heights
Boyle Heights.
and in the east side, right? And so my father really my parents hustled very much to purchase property elsewhere. We were every day in the neighborhood nonetheless, but living was elsewhere because they wanted us to ensure that we were safe.
Mhm.
And so going back when we first moved in was difficult for me because I was nervous for the neighborhood I left and what I knew it to be, that
Mhm.
I'm like, I want my son to feel safe. And it's not that anymore, the way it used to be when I was there, but there's still some element of it. Like if I can say the shoes that I'm wearing now, the Cortezes,
Mhm.
as a child in the late 80s, I wanted to wear them so bad, but we weren't allowed at my Catholic school because at that time, and the
They
gang members,
represented.
right? The gang members were wearing them. So the nuns, I went to a Catholic school, were like, they're banned. And so I bought my first pair of Cortezes when I was 40.
Oh,
And it was a moment where like I get to wear the cool shoes that I always wanted to wear
yeah.
as a young child, but I couldn't because it was affiliated with something.
Mhm.
So, and times have changed. And I tell that story to my son all the time because things have changed in the neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, when you mentioned about Boyle Heights, my practice where we're taping right now, we're in the city of Rosemead.
Right.
And I've been in this city for 30 years. And at the beginning, when I first started practicing 30 years ago, we also had a lot of gangs
Mm-hmm.
in Rosemead.
Very different.
And so things have changed over the decades. And, I feel like how should I say it? For me to be in a small business in the community for this many years, I don't know if I actually need to feel afraid anymore
Mm,
because at the beginning, it was sometimes, locking up at the end of the
right.
day. I, would always make sure that there was somebody else with me
Mm,
to go to my car. But I feel like my confidence is in this beautiful community that we all respect each other.
mhm.
And for them to know that I've been in this community for so long that I feel like they're protecting me, if that makes sense.
I 100%
I
agree
really
with
do feel
you.
like they're protecting me.
Because people know who we are in the neighborhood, my home is protected.
Yes.
It's never tagged
Mhm.
because there's still gang tags. My
Mhm.
son, have school in on all the gang tags. And also, one of the things that I really wanted us to focus on when we moved back into the home is
Mhm.
removing the iron bars on our windows. So when Richard Ramirez, a Night Stalker,
Yes.
was active
Wait,
in
are
LA.
you aging us right now?
Yes, we are. You, I am aging you.
I
Uh,
was living in Monterey Park.
Okay, so he was everywhere, right?
Yes.
My father, like many residents in Boyle Heights, put iron
Yes.
bars on the windows. My mom reminded me of that recently because my son asked why, and this is what she shared. And so that was one of the conditions that I told my husband, I need the bars removed because it makes me feel like I'm caged. So sure enough, one of the first things that my husband did before we moved back into the home was the bars in the front portion of my home were
Mhm.
removed. And I still have some neighbors saying, why did you remove the bars?
Yeah.
And I said, it's not that Boyle Heights, and that's a good thing. It's not the Boyle Heights that it was in the 80s and 90s. And so I'm more free,
Yeah. I
right?
I agree.
And so
I
that
agree.
you reminded me
And
of that.
and you know what? After you've removed them, this might start having some of
Yes.
your neighbors start thinking and start trusting that things are not the
Right.
same, right? Because a lot of them are holding back
Yes.
maybe memories of
Hmm.
certain things that had happened to their neighbors or maybe to
Right.
themselves. And but yeah, I just, and I know that you see all these beautiful frames and got this, and we didn't always have that. And it's because of part of this fear
Mm,
that, and then I started thinking, why is it that Rosemary can't have beautiful things?
right.
What am I afraid of? Am I afraid that they're going to be stolen? I mean, that's why we have insurance, right?
Exactly.
But at the same time, my community deserves beautiful things.
That's
We
right.
don't have to be worried all the
Hmm.
time. So,
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do love that too. Okay, I didn't even answer this, but
Uh-oh.
I know. Um, what's the lesson that keeps repeating in my life? I don't even know if it's a lesson, but it's more, yeah, I guess it's a teaching. But the fact that my mom currently is not present because she passed away from
Mhm.
cancer back in 2012, um, she was a huge reason for me to, have to seek out therapy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I don't want to go into all the details, but the point is that even without her in my life, I am wearing her cross. Right? Is my
Okay.
here? Yeah, I'm wearing her cross. And this cross to me is a lesson because it's reminding me that no matter how my childhood went, at the end of the day, she is someone that I have forgiven.
Mm,
And I'm not going to forget all the things that had happened in the
mhm.
past. But this cross is very symbolic of a lesson that I need to remember that no matter what my mom had, done to me, I have forgiven her. And so I don't know if that's
That's
really, but
beautiful.
you understand what I'm trying to
Yes.
say, right? Yeah. So that's my answer
I
to that.
love that.
Yeah. Okay. On to an
A
easier,
soft
a
truth.
soft shoe.
Here we go. Okay. What's a simple moment that made you feel present? Oh my. That's a very beautiful, deep question. Soft chew.
What's a moment,
What's a simple
moment
moment
that made you feel
feel
really
present?
present? I'm just right now. I'm just thinking of Mother's Day and spending a meal with my daughter. I have two daughters, but my younger one is in Pensacola, Florida. But this past Mother's Day, just that moment of having a meal. Sometimes people think, oh, Mother's Day, it's like maybe you're lavished with presents or whatever. But just being able to sit across from my daughter that day, I still remember it. It was very nice. We were just
Mm,
seated by a big, huge window and having that sunlight come through
mhm.
and then enjoying my time with her. And we didn't get to spend the entire day together, but I think those are the simple moments that really make me feel like, um, that I'm alive, but it reminds me that I've done my job as a mom. If that
I
makes sense?
appreciate that.
Those
Yeah.
moments of being present and going, you know, I've done a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a good job in raising my daughters. I'm not a perfect mom,
Mm-hmm.
but overall, I think my daughters have turned out okay.
Oh, I love
And
that.
so it's those little moments that remind
Right.
me. Yeah. How
Well,
about you?
you just made me reflect because you said your daughters. I have a tradition with my son. Every morning on our way to school, we do our dichos, our mantras.
Okay.
And so I started this when he was
Wait,
2
what
years
is it
old.
called?
So dichos, like your
Oh,
sayings,
okay.
it's like the I am statements if
Yeah.
anyone's ever done the I am poem. And so I started this with him when he was 2 years old.
Mm.
And so it's yo soy, right? And we'll do a series of, and it depends on the day, and it's what we feel. Yo soy fuerte, I am strong. Yo soy guapo, I am beautiful. And then we move on to, and then we'll say yo soy, and we say his full name. And then after that, we move on into me amo porque I love myself because. And
You
then
do this every morning?
every morning on our drive to school. And then at the end, we'll yell, me amo, me amo, me amo. And he yells with me. And so it's one of the moments where we're fully present on our drive to school.
Yeah.
And I do it with a lot of intentionality
Yes.
to ensure that he feels very grounded in who he is.
Mm.
And so it's simple, but very powerful and profound. And going back to the thought about legacy, I always tell him I'm hopeful that if he ever chooses to have children one day
Mm-hmm.
and is able to, that he continues that legacy.
Yeah.
And it's all in Spanish,
Yeah.
which is why for us, the legacy will continue in the passing on of the Spanish language to him.
Mm. But you just touched upon, you know, um, when he has children or if he's able to
Mhm,
have
mhm,
children. But I've learned too that that legacy, he will find a way to
mhm.
pass it
I love that. Yes, it's so true.
somewhere else. He will. He will. Whether it's going to be a colleague
Mhm.
or a neighbor, somehow he'll be able to.
Affirm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he will. I
Oh, I
trust that.
love
I do
that.
believe that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so let me pull a hard shoe here.
Okay.
What's a boundary you wish you set earlier in life? You want to go? Because I don't have the answer.
Saying no.
Saying no.
Saying
Okay.
no earlier in life because I've said yes to so many things because I'm a very active person in the community. I wish I would have learned at a younger age to say no
Hmm.
because I didn't really learn that idea of boundaries until 30 is when I was able to vocalize to the world
Mm-hmm.
that no, I can't help you today
Mm.
and not apologize for it
Mm.
and not feel guilt for it.
Yeah.
That's been difficult for me to work through.
Well, I'm gonna take that a little bit into my own life. I know that at some point, and I end up teaching my daughters the same thing. A lot of times, you put pressure on yourself when you overcommit and you tell somebody, "Oh, I'll contact you tomorrow," right? So, and let's say you get really busy and you don't, then you
Mhm.
feel bad,
Yes.
right? So now I've learned to tell the other person, "Why don't you go ahead and call me?"
Yes.
And it's helped a lot, right? Because a lot of times it's just
Or send me why don't you send me your email with the recap? That's what I tell the
yes.
person. Send me an email with the recap so I can review it and then we can connect afterward.
Exactly, exactly.
It's very yes.
What's a boundary you wish you set earlier in life? Um, the no is important. Um, for me, I think that I wish I set earlier in life. I think raising my children and not being their friend. That's a huge
Mm.
boundary. I've now learned that my boundary needs to be set where I will always be the parent. Because if I make it where I am always my children's friend, it changes things, and I think, that's where they learn to manipulate
Mm.
the relationship
Mm.
when you are the friend,
A friend.
and so, and somebody else had taught me this, and so, I didn't learn about it until just shortly after, COVID, that I need to keep my parental, uh,
Role?
role with my kids, no matter what age they are. So they could be in their 50s and I'm in my 70s or whatever, or 80s, and I still need to keep that boundary. And so that's something where I wish I had done it sooner. Because when you see your child as a friend, you sometimes overshare, and so that's what I've learned.
Agree, and I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, yeah, we need to always be in our children's eyes, the parent. Yeah,
I know when to share. You
yeah,
have to really work,
yeah.
see it.
Yeah, because sometimes when for example, for me, when I did overshare certain things, I was a little bit, quote unquote, dumping some of my problems or issues or concerns onto them, thinking that they're young adults. It's okay for me to share. But what happens is that I've learned some of those things that I share, I end up parentalizing them. And so then now I'm turning the roles where they need to take care of me and where I've been told that, in those situations, those are things where I need to go to my girlfriends
Mhm.
and talk to them
Okay,
about it as
okay.
opposed to my children.
I love
So,
that.
yeah. So,
That's a good one.
all right, your turn.
Okay, a soft chew. Let's see. What makes a conversation feel truly meaningful to you?
For me, a conversation, I think, ends up being a conversation when each person in that um, environment is actually hearing each other. I think that's when it becomes meaningful for me. Because I don't know if because you're engaged in a lot of
Mhm.
conversations, whether it's virtual or not. Um, Sometimes you can tell when the other person doesn't get you.
Right.
And so I end up not, I walk away feeling like, am I answering the question? Because to ask, yeah, I walk away feeling like there was no meaning to that interaction.
Mhm.
And so for me, it's being on the same wavelength, I think, sometimes with the people that I'm talking to. If they don't seem to, you know, understand where I'm coming from, it's not that I've given up on that conversation, but I walk away feeling kind of drained by it. And so, yeah, I don't know. How would you answer it?
Meaningful conversation to me. Well, first and foremost, if it's like within the realm of friendship, because we're in this day and age, no phones. I think the phones really occupy people. So having meaningful conversations
Mm.
where you're dialoguing with each other, I'm really big on eye contact, me personally, and so that's important to me. But really trying to feel listened to. I
Mhm.
might not be understood, and so that's okay. That's why you're having the conversation. But no distractions, engagement.
Mhm.
When it comes to the work setting, similarly, having conversations with individuals and the phones are not
Distractors.
distractors. And I'm also guilty of that too, where I'll be in meetings, but the text comes in, and because we live in the sense of urgency, I'm checking the text from a team member, answering while having a conversation, and that takes away from the moment.
Oh my goodness. So as you're saying that, what's coming to mind is, have you ever been in conversations where somebody has a smartwatch and you feel like the conversation's going really well, and all of a sudden they do one of these? It For me, at least, I feel like they're giving me a sign that, they don't want to be engaged
Right.
anymore, when it couldn't be far from the truth, right? But that's something where these digital gadgets,
Get in the way.
they do get in the way.
I engage with some folks that I love, but some folks have the gadget with them at all times. And I've struggled with, like, how do I tell the friend that I love so much, put your phone down, put it down because I'm here.
Yeah.
And it's about those powerful, meaningful moments,
Yeah.
whether they're difficult conversations or not.
Yeah.
Put it down. But I just want to look at this. No, let's put it down. And so that's where there's also been struggle. I don't know how to navigate that because some
I know
folks are
it's
so
hard.
connected to those gadgets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It
that's
is
the world we
hard.
live in.
It is hard. Well, as you can see with the podcast, right? I really wanted the conversation to be in person
Mhm.
so we can have eye contact, right? Especially if we're going to be sharing stories that matter to us. It is important to be able to be present.
Mhm.
And this is part of the environment that I
Right.
feel like will help, right? So, all right, this was
The
a
soft
soft chew.
chew.
We're going to go with a hard one. Okay. Where in your life are you being called to raise your standard, not your effort? Where in your life are you being called to raise your standard, not your effort?
I going to try
Yes.
to
Answer it.
so answer. So where in your life are you trying to raise your standard, not your effort? And I'm going to connect it to financial literacy. Oftentimes we don't talk about financial literacy within our communities, and we need to do more of that to ensure that our communities are saving, investing. And so I need to raise my standard for my own self and my family's longevity in ensuring that I set certain things in place. I need to be a better saver. And so I have the effort. The effort is there, but the standard I need to move up. And that's so important because legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this time, to be able to afford certain things at home,
Well, especially in LA.
very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always tell folks when I'm in certain conversations, and students in particular, I say this to them, you need to look 7 generations ahead. What are you doing now to ensure 7 generations forward
Mm.
are going to be safeguarded?
Yeah.
And it comes down to legacy. Because again, as I shared, for my neighborhood in Boyle Heights, legacy is critical to like its existence and essence.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the standard that I'm really trying to raise is this idea of financial literacy and awareness.
Hmm.
I have the effort, I do want to, but I need to raise my own standard to ensure that my son is set, but after.
Mm-hmm.
What legacy am I leaving after that he will move forward
Mm-hmm.
for the community and for himself?
Hmm. Wow. That's powerful. And I'm trying to think for myself, where in your life are you being called to raise your standard and not your effort? Um, I think for me, having children has been a big part of me raising the standard for myself
Mm.
because I feel like I'm constantly being a role model, right? A parent is a role model.
Or mentor.
Yeah, a mentor, a role model, and you have to lead, right? And by example. And so I think that's where in my life I feel like I'm always challenging myself to
Mm.
keep that standard high with some grace,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that I'm not perfect, but that's what I'm striving for, right? And I know integrity of my words is a big part of keeping that standard high. Um, because I'm trying to model for my daughters that what comes out of your mouth, can either be a good thing, praising somebody, or it could be something that can be very, very hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I said, it could be in a professional setting or a personal friendship setting. You always have to be intentional with your words. And so, yeah, I hope I answered it. This was a difficult
Yeah,
one.
that
All right. So soft chew.
soft chew. Here we go.
I'm looking forward to a soft one. That
You're
was
like,
going to be
"Ah."
challenging.
Mhm. Soft chew. Okay. What have you chosen? When have you chosen peace over being right? When have you chosen peace over being right?
Well, I think for me, it's also about children. You can't, um, you got to pick your battles, right? You can't be right with every single thing. And so sometimes I do let some things go
Mm.
because it's okay, right? Because they're learning too. And if I'm going to be hard on them on every single thing, then I don't think that's a good representation of how life is, right? And yeah, so I'm always trying to encourage my kids, and that's how I'm keeping peace. Because if I start nitpicking on certain things, I feel like that would cause more conflict between or within the relationship with my kids. And so I think to be a good parent, you also have to know how to change with the times,
Mm-hmm.
with the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm just reading this. So, when have you chosen peace over being right? And what is coming up for me is this idea of not centering being right. So, in conversations or engagement, not being right is not the center. And so, sometimes when there's conflict, I will just take a step back and quiet down. That's something I'm working on, but just
Mhm.
really quiet down so that
So you're recentering?
so I'm recentering, and it's not about being right, and
Right.
it's not about giving in, right? I'm not just because I'm quieting down doesn't mean that I'm giving in to anything.
Correct.
I'm just assessing the situation and I want peace.
Yeah.
And we might not find a resolution in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna quiet down.
Well, since you're saying that, I was thinking that there is harmony with differences,
Yes.
right? We can have differences
Mhm.
and still not have conflict, right?
Yes, I agree. I always say, especially in difficult situations, and I think it's important, I'll say this, when you feel something that's not correct, ensure that you do share, I don't agree with that decision. I don't agree with how this is resulting, but let's move forward. And I think it's
Mhm.
important for, in particular, in leadership situations where you see unjust,
Mhm.
where you see lack of equity, and the decision is still moving forward, not to address that. I always give advice, note it, document it, because it's important for you to share that you're in disagreement with it, but the decision is being made outside of you to move in that way.
Correct.
And I'm saying that because I engage in a lot of sensitive information and decision making. And so that's something that I'm really accountable for and that I pay close attention to.
Mhm.
How am I communicating the fact that this is not equitable or just? I don't agree with it.
Mhm.
That decision sits with you now,
Mhm. And what are you gonna do with it?
right? Because I work for the state of California supporting students,
Mhm.
and I take that responsibility very seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that you're passing on
Mhm.
to your students, right? How are they gonna handle conflict or in certain situations when you try to keep peace, are you holding back to the point where you're not gonna help the movement forward, right? You should still
100%.
express
How
your
you
opinion,
feel.
how you feel, and because everyone has the right to express how
Mhm.
they feel or how they think about a certain situation, right? It's not good when you just hold it back and think that you're insignificant
Right.
in that conversation. Everyone should be at that table.
I also do say, and this is now from in the work setting, also
Yeah.
be strategic in how you are going to communicate that difference because it does require strategy.
Yeah. And that's part of the keeping
Mhm.
peace, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because we don't always agree, and that's
Well,
okay.
yeah, and then and when you express it to the point where there's actually conflict and there's no peace, that's where things start to, how should I say, kind of start stagnating.
Mhm.
It doesn't move forward. That's what
It
your whole
just sits
yeah,
there.
yeah, and we want progression.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah,
Now we're on to a hard shoe.
the hard
Mhm.
shoe. All right. When have you had to choose between what's easy and what's right? I think these are getting harder and harder.
Mhm.
When have you had to choose between what's easy and what's right? Do you know the answer? You can go first if you know it.
When have you chosen
When
between that what's easy and what is right?
I don't really understand this question. I mean, it's hard for me to wrap around it. When have you had to choose between what's easy and what's right?
Well,
Oh, you're choosing between these two.
yeah, you kind of bringing back what we just talked
Yeah.
about in being strategic. Sometimes um, I disagree with some things that are happening, and so the easy way is
Retreat.
to stay back, retreat, see the world, see the situation, even though you know it's not right. And so I've had experienced that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's it's not easy actually choosing that, but it's the easier option because it's going to be a no. So at what point do I look and say to myself, this is really taking a toll on me and my
Mm.
health?
Yeah. I think I am going to tell you a lot of the decision making between what's easy and what's right has been thinking about my own health. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the things I am an advocate for, I can't be there to continue advocating if this particular situation is going to be detrimental to my health,
Mhm.
right? And so, um, yeah, there's been situations where I could have taken somebody um, through legal actions for what he did.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, I thought to myself, it would be right for me to bring it up legally, but I knew that
At what cost?
I would cost, which would be my
Mhm.
health. And that was shortly after, having cancer and all that. And it's like, it wasn't worth it. I had to decide. For
And it
me,
wasn't easy,
it wasn't, no, it was
but
not
between
easy. It was not easy. But that was something where, um, yeah, I didn't really think of it until you were answering, and
Mhm.
I was thinking, "Oh my gosh, that is one of the situations." Okay, one
That
more
was a
round.
okay,
That
this is
was
a soft chew.
and then
Mhm.
after that, we'll do
Okay.
one more hard, and by the way, I am gonna comment on your nails.
Oh, thank you.
They're
I know I was looking at your
beautiful.
nails too.
Well, mine are a little bit outgrown, but
Thank
as you're
you.
pulling the questions out, I'm like,
I love pink.
"I did not
I
know
love
that.
oh, I
I
love
did
pink.
not know that."
What's something about life right now that feels really good?
Hmm. I think for me right now, I think it's the harmony with my practice.
Hmm.
I feel like um, after COVID, just the changes with the turnaround with staffing, that was pretty much, I think, part of every industry. I think it was hard to keep staff just because of
Mhm.
the concerns, the health concerns, and all that. And so I think right now, I've I feel very blessed to have a great group of men and women
Mhm.
that is supporting my cause. I do have a cause of this practice being in my community, and we're all on the same wavelength, and that's what
Mhm.
I love.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what's something about life right now that feels really good? For me right now, that what feels really it's summertime, and so what feels really good is just being able to go with the flow of the day after work. Because in my work setting, I'm very structured.
Mhm.
At times, it can be difficult after work not to be structured.
Mm,
But with children, it is structure is important, but
yes.
it's also essential to have unstructured time.
Yeah.
That's what
That spontaneity.
spontaneity, that's where creativity
Mm.
comes from, right? And so
I do have to say, your family's very creative.
we are very creative.
You are very
And
creative.
so but sometimes the structure, goes all day until we go to sleep. And so right now, because it's summer and it's everything's flowing, it feels good to be unstructured,
Yeah.
right? Being able to just do things because there's no formal schooling for my son the next day. And it might sound simple, but because I need the structure to ensure things get done for the community, for my family. It feels good right now just to be able to pause
And be present.
and be present and enjoy that moment after the workday with my son and husband and just relax. And whether it be we like to read, listen to music, dance, go out, play tennis, go grab ice cream.
So is this Palm Springs trip part of
Yes,
this
it's just
to extend it
to
a little bit?
extend it. We're
Yeah.
going to Palm Springs to relax, enjoy, be interconnected. And not that we're not interconnected during the week, but it's intentionality
Yeah.
because
Well,
we need it.
when you put yourself in another environment,
It helps.
it
And
does
it's
help.
going to be very quiet. And I'm excited for the peace of the desert. It's going to be hot, but we're going to be by a pool and that I'm going to enjoy that moment.
Yeah. Well, in every place that you go indoors is going to
Mhm.
be nicely air
Yes.
conditioned. I always tell people it's like, being in California, being in a desert environment, it's not as hot as you think
Right.
because, they always have, what do you call those,
The
misters
mister.
too.
So
And it's nice.
we're not suffering.
No,
Right.
we're not suffering. We're not suffering. Okay, last round or
Okay. This
last
is a
question
hard
here.
chew.
Yes. What's something you held on to longer than you should have? I think I'm going to say that having to be perfect,
Mm.
having this outer front,
Like a facade.
like a facade, it is a facade. And because it's part of, and I know it's used quite a bit, but about um, the imposter syndrome. Um, I don't think that term really came up until maybe about 15 years ago, the imposter syndrome. But that is something that I lived with when I got accepted into UCLA. and walking onto campus and starting to meet a lot of my, classmates and learning about their backgrounds, I kept thinking, I think they made a mistake.
Mm.
Like, how did I get picked
At
to be
UCLA.
at UCLA to be amongst all these other people that had I just felt like I was fascinated about all the things that they have achieved up to that point of age 18, and I felt like I had nothing to show, and how did I get in? So all throughout 4 years of being at UCLA, I always felt like I had to pretend I was just good enough to be there,
Mhm.
and I think now I've realized I have always been good enough, but it took forever. It took forever to realize that I am good enough.
So, can I say something about
Yeah.
what you just said? That's so powerful, because the imposter syndrome, and we talk a lot about this in the research in higher ed that I do. And so, we also have to remember who created the term and to describe who. So, I've stopped using the imposter syndrome because the origins of it were created by folks that don't necessarily relate to the immigrant experience. And s and so often we've been pausing on that term. So it's not that you were not good enough, right? But
Mhm.
now you have this term imposter syndrome. And so what does that then say to you, right? So it's a bit of a deficit term, right?
Mm.
And so we've stopped using it. Even I used to use it a lot in talking about our students suffer from imposter syndrome when they go into certain spaces. But now I reframed it because I've been reflecting on
Yeah.
what was shared in my academic spaces around who created the term imposter syndrome.
Yeah. I don't even know.
It was not folks that are in our communities.
Mm.
And so it was folks outside using the term to describe inequities. So it's not that you were not enough. You are enough. It's that was the community provided the equitable services it should have so that you walked into the room
And felt
as confident as you are and really stood there. So it's
Mhm.
not you, it's the outer. And so that's why I stopped using imposter syndrome when that was brought to my attention. And I think we talked words matter.
Yeah.
So I've really have honed in on that. Just
Yeah.
wanted to share that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's funny because I only brought it up
Hmm.
because I know that that's what a lot of
Yes,
people are
that's a
familiar
term.
with, right? It's a
It's
term.
a term that's used a lot in academia.
And I used to use it, but I don't even use it that much anymore. And it's only because what I have experienced was it was something where it was noise that was placed. These were things that I was taught.
Hmm.
I'm a first generation born
Hmm.
in LA, and I just remember the noise that was always brought onto me, telling me because I'm a girl, because I'm Chinese,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
there's all these
Exactly.
reasons.
All these deficits,
Yeah, all these
they
deficits.
tell you.
Correct. I mean, I had it both ways. I was neither too, I was either too Chinese or not Chinese enough. I
Mm.
always felt kind of stuck in the middle. And so like I said, when I walked into UCLA, it was just an experience where I felt like I didn't belong, and it took a while. And so, but now, looking back, it's like I've always belonged,
Always.
always.
So the term that we
Yeah.
use
What do you
to
use?
counter this whole idea of deficit is a term that was established, community cultural wealth. So had you been taught at a younger age your community cultural wealth, which is your linguistical capital, your
Oh, I love that. I do have
you have
linguistical
linguistic capital.
capital. I can speak like 4
Right?
languages.
You have capital where you know how to navigate,
Mm.
navigational capital.
Okay.
You've navigated perhaps translating for your family, navigational capital. So there's I think 6 or 7 capitals. And so we actually teach students, and in the community I talk about it with communities, you have community cultural wealth. You bring assets to the table,
Oh, we do.
right?
We do.
Once you know that, you come into the room and you stand very firm.
Yeah.
But it's something that we need to teach folks more about,
Yes.
right? Now you have a term, right? So we're not using the imposter syndrome. I have community cultural wealth. And so then you come into the room with that confidence
Yeah. Yeah.
because you
I know
have all of
because
that.
yeah, because the term imposter is just so
It's deficit, it's
it
so
is deficit.
negative, but your community cultural wealth, and it's
And
not
to be
financial,
and have it be a syndrome.
right? Exactly, right? So that you have the wealth, not monetary, but the actual wealth that you
It's
need to
cultural.
flourish,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that I love LA. I mean, I don't think there's any other city, maybe New York, I don't
Maybe,
know.
right.
But in terms of a huge metropolitan area and to have the diversity, I mean, we have so much diversity. And for us to be able to celebrate what each culture can bring to the table.
It's beautiful.
And I'm thankful that you are doing that at
Yeah,
ELAC.
yeah.
Yeah.
Teaching youth about their community culture well.
Yeah, and that's just gonna keep getting passed on, and it's gonna strengthen each person's position at whatever table they decide
Mhm.
to sit at, right? Because we're all gonna be equal.
Mhm.
Nobody's gonna be at the head of the table.
It's all so
Yeah, yeah, I love round tables.
Yes.
I always like, no rectangular
Yeah.
tables. We're
Round.
all equal. A
Mhm.
round table is perfect. Okay, I think we are done. Thank you again
Yeah,
for
thank
being
you.
here. And I also want to thank you for serving our
Thank you.
and our community is huge. It is huge. So thank you for your dedication.
Appreciate you.
All right. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Continue to live your life purposefully, lead boldly, and see life clearly. And until next time, bye bye.
Bye-bye.